Hello, hello. I forgot which button to press, and so if you're watching this from the beginning in the future, it kind of gets a little funny. But anyways, I'm gonna fix. At some point, I'm gonna fix that light, but it's still a cool light. Actually, that kind of looks kind of like vampire. I think Jonathan would like this. Wherever Jonathan is. Oh, he's at a wedding. All right, let's get started. Thank you everybody for joining us today for the Nervous Ghost Press open mic. This is Lucky Ghosts because we're in March. I'm trying to think of. I think I said this last time. I used to have names for everything. I'm gonna try and think of names. So if you have any ideas for April, give me some ideas for what April should be called. I don't know what happens in April. Taxes, taxing ghosts. Oh, that sounds terrible. Little broken dollar sign behind it instead. Let me fix some stuff over here. I think I'm 90% sure. I don't want to say 90. I'm more than 90% sure, but I'm less than 90% sure as far as the Jinx gods are concerned that the audio issue we had last time is fixed because I tested it twice. We went live and Zoom was on and I was here and the cameras were working and all that other stuff. But it hasn't happened yet. I hope it doesn't happen. If it does happen, then I'm not much of a believer in these jinxes things. But if it does happen again, then I'm going to have to be converted because everything has been working fine. And if it happens, that will just be terrible. So we are in the Community Arts Workspace. You can see it down there behind our cool slogan that some really cool genius guy made up once. It was pretty awesome. It's true. The Community Arts Workspace is in Hacienda Heights, which is about 15 miles east of downtown LA if anybody is around. It's always free for anyone that needs it. There are 2 computers. There's a sound booth, sort of sound booth. You can record. My audio engineer, Brian, he needs to come down here and set up that whole system, but one day it's going to be set up, record, make music, audiobooks, podcasting. You can use the space for whatever you want. It's available. It's always free. Just email me. There's a form on our website, nervousghostpress.org, and I'll always say yes. We're also working on a gallery. You can see a little bit of the paintings behind the sign. Our target was February to open the exhibit, but we're going to push it probably to next month at some point or even beyond. Over the years, I have removed hard deadlines from my life as far as the press is concerned. We do things to get it. We get things done as we can get things done. Otherwise, I'm stressing out, and this is art. It's not supposed to be stressful. It's supposed to help fix and cure the stress. And so as we can, we do it, we get it done, and it's awesome, and it's great. So if you're watching in the future, reach out. If you're watching now, comment, do all that stuff. I'm supposed to be more proactive about these things. And so stay connected. These are all our social medias. I handle the social medias, but I'm trying to find people that are more social media savvy because I'm supposed to post more often and I don't. I just can't do it. I'm not even that old yet. I just can't do it. It's not in my blood. It must be the food or there's something in the water, I suppose. Support us too. I'm supposed to make that very, very clear. We're a 501c3 nonprofit in good standing, whether that matters to you or not. But all donations or not all donations. Donations are tax deductible to the extent allowed by the law. I don't know. However that makes legal sense. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you any financial or legal advice. But so our upcoming art gallery exhibit is by Trucker Sushi. It's photography. They're fantastic. They're really cool. There's a couple that sometimes I look at and I'm like, dang, that's cool. And I don't know why. I'm realizing how bad I am at taking photos when I see how good photos can be taken. And it's a really cool realization because I thought before you just take a camera, you point and you shoot and you're done. So much goes into it. So it'll be really cool to see when it's all put together. We'll have an opening event, maybe a couple come out here, have some wine, have snacks, have water, all the cool stuff. All the art exhibit, the fancy stuff, we'll get it for everyone. And then if you have someone or yourself and you want to have your own art exhibit, let us know. You could have your own art exhibit. So today I'm the MC. There were going to be a couple guest MCs that I was speaking with, but then they weren't feeling well. I think there's a sickness going on. I had a stuffy nose the other day, and then I did some push-ups, and I was cured. I don't know if that works for anyone, but I'm not giving you any medical advice. It works for me. I played basketball with my nephew, and I kicked his ass, so that might be why I feel better. But anyways, we hope that everybody feels good, everybody's healthy, everybody's happy. What else do I have here? A quick update about our journal, The Waiting Room, Volume 2. I just finished, the editors and we just finished a draft that is going through one final read-through of editing. The cover is 90% finished. We should have a preview, a proof printed for the LA Festival, the LA Times Festival of Books. So if you have any work in there, if you want to see what it is, come out, take a look at it. It's going to be really cool. It's a different format than the last issue. The trim is different. We're kind of changing things up, trying to see what we can do. But we're going to be at booth 204 in the Purple Poetry section. Come say hello. Check out the book. Sign it. We're going to have release events for that too, in person here at the workspace and virtually. And I want to get as many people who are in the area to sign a copy for me, because I think that would be really cool. And I'll have the only one. You're not allowed to sign anyone else's copy but mine. We got to make that a rule. Our next event is April 25th. I'll announce it before April 24th. And I said it, so now I have to do it. It is in the universe. And, okay, we're going to get started. Today we have a short list, but I'll share some. We'll talk about art today. We'll talk about community. We'll have a conversation. We'll do what we do. And so I'll get us started here. I think I'll read some. This one was from December. I think that's old enough. So before that, so in grad school, I was supposed to memorize a poem. We were all supposed to memorize a poem and then present it the next day or however long we had. And I memorized it. I think I forgot a stanza. And then I had it in my head for a while, and I was able to do it. And for whatever reason, the poem kind of made its way into my mind yesterday or the day before, and I didn't remember the entire poem, and it kind of made me mad. But I started thinking, if I had memorized the poem, but I don't remember it now, then I didn't memorize the poem at all. And I don't have the definition of what memorize means, but in my brain, if you don't have it in your skull forever, that you didn't memorize it in the first place, because there are things in my brain that are etched into my skull that I remember even if I want to forget them, and yet this thing, I just couldn't do it. So it took me down this giant philosophical rabbit hole. But anyways, it's by Emily Dickinson. It's called "I Tasted Liquor Never Brewed." I'm gonna take a sip of my water before I read it. I tasted liquor never brewed, from tankards scooped in pearl. Not all the Frankfurt berries yield such an alcohol. Inebriate of air am I, and debauchee of dew, reeling through endless summer days from inns of molten blue. When landlords turn the drunken bee out of the foxglove's door, when butterflies renounce their dreams, I shall but drink the more. Till seraphs swing their snowy hats and saints to windows run, to see the little tipper leaning against the sun. So I still like it. I had to Google what a tankard was, which is kind of neat. But back in the day, it had a different meaning. I think that's something powerful about poems and writing and art in general, is that something can mean something to you one day, years ago, and then have a totally different, but also equally important and impactful meaning today. So I'm going to read this next poem. Then we'll chat with some of the community people here. And we'll just have a conversation going. We'll see other people may show up. Sometimes on Zoom they pop in. Sometimes they pop in through the door. It's always open here. This is a poem I wrote in December. And a friend of mine, we were chatting we weren't getting into an argument, but it was kind of an argument. And we were saying, we're gonna kick each other's asses, we're gonna fight each other, we're gonna knock each other out, whatever it was, and then we're gonna be getting a drink bloody at the bar afterwards, because that's what you do. And so this poem is called "Bloody at the Bar." This is what it looks like. Oh, you can't see. My poems these days kind of look like paragraphs. I don't know why. Kind of got into it. I got to go back to stanzas maybe. Bloody at the bar. My fucking thumb hurts. But not even from doing cool shit. From writing papers. Picking up whiskey bottles is painless. Popping corks, pour another one. It whispers back and forth. It's been 2 months, okay? 24 days. It's cool, though. The doctor knows nothing. At least besides cupping your balls. Can I cough some more? Your hands are warm. What the fuck was that? Where's this going? Zach's a dad now. And that's awesome. The fucking kid is going to be one tall ass motherfucker. But imagine he was short. Holy shit, that would be awesome. But for reals, life comes at you these days. Classmates make me feel old and gray. I ain't even have any gray hairs. Well, sometimes I see one in my nose and I yank that shit out. It hurts. Of course it does. I'm ripping off a part of me. Like the last time. They don't make razors like they used to. Nothing's built to last no more. All based on algorithmic nonsense. Can't say suicide because the people are more scared of losing contracts and burying their friends. Just fucking say it. He killed himself, hung himself in that damn hotel. We're not supposed to talk about it, but bro, I think my brain needs to. And she died too. But there's silence. Well, of course there is. But why? But why? And no one knows. And no one asks, so it festers fucking furiously until finally it stops. We'll do something. It doesn't work no more. Pour some more until I stumble, find the floor, and it's still warm from sitting on it. While the clock struck, open the door and let me in. Sorry to wake you up again. It isn't me. It's not the reason things are awful. I hope that's true. His lips were blue, skin like icicles. I'd give anything for one more chat. One more fuck you, Matt, you fucking piece of shit. I swear to God, if I had anything, I'd give it all up. No matter how much fucking cool shit is created from these hands, Ian hates rhyming, and that's why I ain't never seen a band with him. Just kidding. You know I'm still too scared to do all that. But raves, oh buddy, you ain't ever seen nothing like it. What these feet can do, my God, it's like an entirely different person. But it's a prison. And the only key is whisked and chilled and cool. Friends are hard to come by. So stop lying when they talk to you. Stop ignoring them when they say hello and start initiating a call or two. Best friends are hard to keep. And even harder at times to lose. But that stupid fucking joke you just had to say is the noose. Tie it slowly. You ain't going nowhere. Dig that hole and keep on digging. Scream until your lungs bleed. Still there ain't no one who will listen. Let's go back. A little slower. The backache must mean something. No matter all the cool shit, there'll always be something missing. And the ghosts. We thought we were just complaining at the end. Wasn't it? It was something more, something we can't forget. And now they're dead. And we hope the times we laugh are not in jest of the lives they left behind. We couldn't save them, but tried our best. One for the homies we couldn't save, one for the good times. A cheers and toast, a celebration for the ones we're all convinced we'd miss the most. But end up lost and cold while wondering to find our way back home. This whiskey's sour. It's what you ordered. You said you'd never drink alone. So that was Bloody at the Bar. I've never been bloody. Have I? No. I've never been bloody at a bar. Can't say never. I shouldn't be. No one should ever be. And so the way today is going to work, the way, like I mentioned, is we're going to have an arts talk, which is cool. I've been wanting to do an arts talk. A lot of people have told me we should do like a podcast because I got all the equipment. I got the cameras, the spotlight, all this cool stuff. I'm just not really into podcasts. So we can call them arts talks. So today we could be our first unofficial arts talk. We have Juan and Chrissy, and then maybe someone else who didn't agree, but didn't necessarily verbally disagree. You didn't say no. But so Chrissy or Juan, whichever one of you wants to come up first and just chat, I'll be here. I'm going to fix the spotlight so it's a little nicer. And we'll just chat.
Hi, everybody. My name's Christy. Excited to be here. I've never read this poem out loud, and it's been in my phone forever. And here I thought, oh, I don't have anything to share, and now I'm like, I'm so excited to share. So bear with me. Thank you for having me. Here it goes. Bright red rose petals scattered along the shore, shiny and wet, tangled in the seaweed, buried in the sand. A wedding proposal. The lovemaker's gone, fragments of life spread out, lost and alone. The turbulence of the waves and of life attacking that precious moment when you say I do or will you marry me. So sweet and full of hope. I imagine the petals were scattered in a circle or in a heart, painstakingly crafted for that perfect shot, that perfect moment, only to be washed away, the way it's abandoned now, caught up in the days that have followed without the care or attention to craft and create and memorialize that beautiful love that you hope lasts forever. But maybe the waters take them into the depths of the sea so they can go back to the earth only to bloom again. Thank you. And then I have another one that I wrote right after COVID. So definitely tough times, grappling with a lot of things as a parent, as a person, as a human in this world. So I'd like to share this one with you too. Let me find it here. It's called Control. I don't have any. Neither do you, or her, or him, or them. Listen to Elsa like I have on repeat to just let it go. The Disney life lessons that I sing at the top of my lungs, this fantasy that I can influence or choose. I've spent so much time carefully planning, neatly arranging the trajectory of my life with goals and dreams and step-by-step success, but so much is wasted. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Okay, John, I heard you, and shit happens. So don't lose the control I never had. That's just scary. Beautiful soul, just float and whip through the winds of the whims of this crazy life. Thanks.
Thank you. So what I always like to do today, this could be like a meta event. I had a professor in grad school call them meta moments. It's kind of neat. I kind of like, I don't know, someone let me know, Christy, you and everybody here, let me know if that brownish tone works. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sepia, right? That's kind of
Sepia.
Some kind of sepia. Ghost, you know? Yeah.
Awesome. It's perfect. Yeah, I tried to change mine. This is I don't want to be too bright over here. I think I can make it lower. Oh, there we go. There, now it's kind of equal. So, Christy, you don't have to answer these, but what I try to do whenever I'm the MC person is respond in some meaningful way, and don't quote me because I'm sure I don't always get it right, but it's a way for me to keep the conversation going, because I've certainly been in events and open mic things and readings where you it takes a lot of effort, a lot of personal effort to go up there, you share, and then it's just over. And I don't like the feeling of it just being over, but that's a personal thing where I don't like things ending anyways. Like, you watch a TV show and you get invested in these imaginary characters, and then it ends and you're like, but what happens next? It doesn't matter. They're not real. Like, but what happens? What do they do? What about all those things? And so we can talk about this later, but some thoughts I had were about nature, but really about, you said control. I think that was a big one. But I think a lot of people talk about art as a way to heal. And I thought about it while you were reading. Instead of healing, we can discuss, or what are your thoughts on art as a means to process things? Because I know sometimes I write something, I feel a little better, but I don't feel better. I don't feel healed. But through the act of writing, I'm thinking about what happened. I'm going through it in my brain. I'm imagining different scenarios. I'm processing that event, the feelings, the emotions, the anger, the stress, and so on. And so I'm kind of liking the art for processing. So what we can do is anybody that wants to share work can come up and share, and then we can just chat with each other until either other people show up or until we're done talking. Really, we're the boss. We can decide whatever we want to do.
Okay, I'm gonna come back up then.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was so glad for it to be over that I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump down now. But I like the idea of what you said as a healing process, because when I was struggling, when I wrote those poems in 2021 and 2022, was like going out in nature, right? Like, so I used to go to the beach, specifically Crystal Cove, because it's so beautiful there, and I just felt a sense of like distance from all the things that were going on in my life. So it was very healing to be out in nature. And like, I was walking on the beach and I saw these rose petals, and you see people at the beach doing their photo shoots, and it's so contrived. But also it's meaningful to them in the moment, I think, I hope. And like right now, I haven't read that poem in quite some time. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I remember what I felt like when I was in that moment and writing that and feeling that. But now, I feel like such a different person. I feel like I've come so far. So whether that's healing, or just like being able to process what I was feeling then, knowing what I know and feel now, and like how I've moved on from there, where my path has gone since. It was like, it's a very like tangible sense of accomplishment in that, hey, I survived that moment. Like that moment was really low for me. It was really like dark, and it was a real struggle. And not that I haven't had struggles since, and I'm sure I'll have many more, because that's just what life is. But I just know, hey, I lived through that struggle, right? Like I moved on from there, and that changed me in some ways for the better. Even though it didn't feel like that in the moment, I feel like now it really feels healing in that it's not that it fixed me in that moment, but it's given me perspective since that moment. Yeah.
Totally. And I think I agree, because there are times when I'm writing something and it's very heavy, or it's very raw, and then years later I read it again and the emotions are still there, but they're not controlling me in that moment. Whereas when I wrote it, it was a mess, it was ugly, it was gross, or whatever it is. And then later on I'm reading it, it's still all there, but I have a little more agency maybe in it.
It reminds me of like, I used to be a teacher, and I would tell kids, when they said, well, I already read that book last year or whatever. And I was always like, well, you're a different person now. So if you read it again, it may have stayed the same, but you haven't. And so it'll be different this time. And I guess that's what, I don't know, comes to mind when you say that. Like, yeah, in the moment, you might be feeling one way, so you get one thing out of it. And that's, I think, the beauty of art. When you said you wanted to talk about art and process, is that art isn't static, it's alive, but then so are we. And so really it's like an interaction or a play between these two living things, rather than like, oh, I'm consuming, right? Or I'm just an audience to something that never changes. Because I think you can see another painting, and a painting or a photograph like these here on the wall, and it can make you think of something the first time and think of something different the next time, because you might be different or you might have changed. And I really love that about art. Like, I feel sad when people go, oh, I don't like art, or I don't like museums, or museums are boring, or I don't read, it's not boring. Like, those are some of my most favorite things. And I only discovered writing later, but looking at art and experience it. And only recently, like today, I created a painting. Can I show it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You may have to show it closer. So the camera
Is right here.
it's the square one.
Oh, it's stuck to the easel.
It's the square.
Show and tell. Let's go.
Okay, let's see. Oh, it's too
Oh
dark.
no. Okay.
Wait,
you know
there.
There you go.
There.
Oh, here.
what? Oh, cool.
Let's build it. Yeah, so I just made this today. I had no rhyme or reason. I just felt compelled to make swirls, and then that kind of turned into what I thought was like a spring day, because it's been so nice lately. Like, the weather's been really beautiful after we had a lot of rain, and my kids live on the East Coast where it's really freezing. And so I don't know if you can see, but at the top I was thinking of like
Let me see if I can put it
dandelions on
and then
there.
you could be on the microphone.
Like dandelions, where you make a wish. I was outside with one of my neighbors who's 4 yesterday, and She was making a wish on dandelions, and I just think that's so hopeful. And right now we can use a lot of hope. I think we need the hope because so many things feel so hopeless, like politically and socially. So that community of being outside together. So yeah, I guess again, nature, it's kind of like a theme. So
That was cool.
thanks. Thanks to the art space for letting me make it and express myself in that way, because I think I've always been more like intellectualism about books and art and conversation and writing, but less so about creating with my hands. And I really enjoy like now not feeling like, oh, it's not going to be good, or, you know, it's not going to be perfect or right. And so, yeah, letting go of that control is kind of my theme, I guess.
And that's, you know, that's one of the, I think maybe the barriers where a lot of people think, and I think, you know, I don't want to share it until it's done because it's not good or it's not good enough. And my stance these days is everything you write, you paint, you create, whatever songs you make are good enough to be shared. The distinction then is, does that mean someone will like it? And so if we get into art, or if I'm writing a poem, to write the poem, to process something, to engage in the art making process, I don't care if anybody likes it. Versus if I'm writing a poem to go out and perform it for an audience, then the purpose kind of, the task changes a little bit. And so I hope there's a balance. And for everybody who doesn't want to paint or anything, at 5 o'clock on the last Saturdays is when the painting starts. And it's awesome. And one of these days, I'm going to get someone to sponsor painting supplies, and I'll put their name like there or something. Just maybe on my T-shirt, you know, like they do in soccer and NASCAR, all over the cars. I'll put a sticker on the window. I don't know, facing inside, because I don't care that much. You know, I didn't say it. Just give us the money. We're gonna put your name somewhere. There we go. And speaking of giving us money, I gotta get better at doing this. Here is all of our information again. You know, sometimes my segues are better. Sometimes they're terrible. But anyway, yeah. Thank you, Christy. And then Christy, I'm gonna invite you up later when we talk more, because more things are gonna appear. But I'm glad you painted. I'm glad you shared, and I hope that other people out there, you see it, because it's fun. I hope, right? It was fun, right? Totally. You could quote it, take it to the bank. I don't know which bank, but a bank that cashes checks without asking you any questions. And so the point about art, the point of these events and why they're every month, and I want to have more, but there are some times where I'm asking people, they can't make it, life happens, it's just me, nobody's on Zoom, there's one person on Zoom, there's one person here, whatever it is. I will always be here and just talk about art anyways, no matter what, because it has to be talked about. Christy alluded to it. The world is on fire, figuratively and literally. Our lives are different than they were 1,000 years ago, and they're always going to be heavy in some way. Everybody has heaviness we're carrying, and art kind of takes away the heaviness or adds a little more support. It's the post and lintel of our insides, of our hearts, and that's what art is. And so, Juan, if you're ready, you take the microphone and it's yours. I'm gonna disappear for a little bit, and then I'll come back. We'll chat, and then we'll all chat about cool stuff.
All right. So I'm looking on. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Juan. I'm gonna read something from my book called "Pip and My Trauma." And the name of this poem is about my name, and it's called Juan. Here we go. My name is Juan. It rhymes with number 1. Makes sense since I was the only one born in a hospital on a very lonely day. That number mocks me. I've been told, you're one weird motherfucker. That number is associated with the highest rank of achievement, like first place. But to me, it puts me in a strange place, in a different hemisphere. Juan is a lonely name, like that lonely number. Juan was given to me after my father. Even he acknowledged my solitary lifestyle. Yep, That one's gonna fuck up my bloodline. The funny thing is, I've been called Juanito all my life. Juanito is a minuscule name for Juan. The smallness, junior. I always felt like a teensy winsy because I was treated such by my family. I can accomplish so much in life, overcome bigger obstacles than my father, and they'll call me Juanito. I could conquer the world, rule it with an iron fist, destroy cities, choke slam a 1,000-pound bear, destroy universes and create new ones, overthrow the kingdom of heaven, summon Cthulhu and make him my bitch, and I can 110% guarantee you they'll still call me Juanito. Juan is a lonely name that rhymes with a lonely number. Juanito is a smaller name that is too small to rhyme with a number, which is why I adopted a nickname given to me at the age of 7. Basehead. It means crack addict. And I look like a crack did. I had like a skinny ass body, dark bag under my eyes. I was so hyper that I climbed over barbed wire fences. I stuttered. And lastly, I bit people. A lot. Hence the nickname Basehead. People from the hood call my name out of endearment. The joy and appreciation of calling me Basehead made me feel higher than number 1. There goes that crazy ass Basehead. My Basehead. Who are you gonna bite today? Basehead doesn't need numbers because they're always high. When baseheads do something crazy, fools will always say, man, that's one cracked out motherfucker I don't want to mess with. Thank you. And now I gotta read a poem, a brand new poem. This poem is, oh gosh, I lost it. Sorry about that. Yeah, here we go. I wrote this one I wrote this poem for my nieces. It's my first Tío poem. I'm with Tío. It's called Magic Bullet for Mija. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, Mija, so you could walk peacefully at days and nights without looking behind your back all the time. Listen to music. They'll synchronize with the blinking streetlights. They'll spotlight the magical twilight dancers of the night. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, Mija, so you won't have to hear and witness the horrors of the ongoing wars that will make you feel paralyzed by the atrocities, getting attacked by anxieties. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, Mija, so you won't stop smiling, won't stop throwing your hands up in the air with joy, won't stop running into the flowers, while feeling the radiance from the sun, make you feel so adored that you want to fly so high. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, Mija, to set an example that you must eradicate evil that abuses humanity, all for the sake of greed and power, lusting for cruelty. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, Mija, so you will have endless arguments with your mom, accusing your Tío of being a narcissist. And I do think she's right. I do think the whole world's on my shoulders. I do think that I'm the only one who could do something about it. I do think that the whole world is waiting on me. I hate to admit it, Mija, and I do blame myself for every bad thing that's happened. But your grandma would say I was just being Catholic. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, mija. So at least I did something honorable for our lives. And I'll rest easy, finally going to sleep quietly into the dark. Well-deserved end to my life. I wish I could fire a bullet for you, mija. But that's just wishful thinking. For every morning I wake up, hoping to hear the news that a Superman has come to save the world. And Wonder Woman will fly through my window, take me away. It's my fantasy to cope with living in this never-ending nightmare that us surviving class has been calling it the real reality. I wish I can fire that bullet for you and others like you, mija. But your grandfather is right. I don't have the balls. I lost them way back when. Now, I'm mentally bedridden. Just barely enough energy to help me wake up the next day while dreading going through the day. That magic bullet, mija. I wish I can fire it. But I'll put all my willpower to use my back to shield you from their bullets coming at you. So you can go on living, go on surviving, go on fighting, hoping that you'll be the one that'll fire the bullet. Because you deserve to put an end to this bullshit that your insufferable, guilt-driven punk-ass trick Theo failed to stop. Thank you. Yeah, that's done. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. How does the light feel?
It feels good. Yeah. I mean, it's not hitting too hard, but it's good.
Does it feel real?
Huh?
Does it make it feel real?
Yeah.
Like you're on a stage or something?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, I want to ask you an arts-related question that was born from the first piece about names. When you're writing afterwards or before, do you think of titles or do you think of a way to categorize them? Does that change the writing process?
Nah, because I just write the piece first, like something I gotta get out, and then afterwards I just want to choose a title. Like
you sit with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's like I'm gonna name this title. This should be Juan. You know, Juan is a very universal name and being used as a universal joke. So like, yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome. You know, it reminds me too, so back when I was younger, I was Matt, and then when I was 18, I became Matthew.
Yeah.
And I introduced myself as Matthew, but then I don't care. You call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
But and this is where it's not a pet peeve. It must be. It's grown on me when I introduce myself as Matthew, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, Matt." I'm like, whoa. Hold on. We're not there yet. Like,
yeah.
You're making assumptions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, it reminded me of the strength of names. I think a lot of people try to live up to whatever name they have, but I think you just gotta live, and it'll catch up.
Yeah, yes. It was difficult growing up because my dad named Juan, like he was like, the pretty much the archetype of like the working class man who like 2 kids, like just working through, so providing so much for the family, no failures, go on to work sick, if I had a fever, you still go to work and shit. They tell me like I'm doing this for you so you could survive, like that. I need to live up to that guy, like that name, so, and yeah, and also like when you say Matthew, like Juanito, like that's like more personal family name. I did get like a little bit bothered when people that I just met, and then the next day they start calling me Juanito, like we're not there yet. Especially when it's coworkers, like no, they're not paying you for saying that, so calm down. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know you yet. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like. There's some people get it that I'll let it get away with it. It's just that feeling. You just hit like, oh, okay, coming from a, coming place from a heart when they say that.
And sometimes it's like, what, like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, it's like, like I gotta follow what they're saying, and like, no, don't follow it, man.
You're like,
You're gonna earn my respect. You gotta kiss my ring, and then, yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. I'll have some more questions for you when we open it up to everybody.
Cool, awesome. So I go back to the.
If you want, I'm not telling you to.
Oh, okay.
You can. I don't know.
Oh, open it for everybody. Okay.
But yeah. So also there are 2 people on Zoom, so we're gonna get some Zoom people.
Hey.
This is awesome. I don't know. I haven't
Welcome,
decided
everyone.
who's gonna go first. I guess I can just. Well, you know what? What would you do if you had to choose? Would you ask them or just do it?
Well, for what? What?
Who goes first? Anybody care? I'll ask them in the. You know what I need to figure out? So a lot of my students do all this streaming stuff, or I don't know. It's weird. You like watch people do stuff, and like the messages appear on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta figure out how to do that because then like a little message would appear on like right next to you on there. But anyway, so I'm gonna have Trucker Sushi come up.
Oh,
and
Tucker Sushi.
I need to put this in speaker view. Oh, there we go. All right, so whenever you're ready, you are turned on. Just start talking. I'm gonna change the camera to you. There we go.
All right. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh yeah.
Wait, Matt. Can I call you Matt or am I calling you Matt?
I don't want to say. No, you're good.
Lights look good, man. What shows out there?
Thank you. Oh yeah, you haven't seen it, huh?
I have not seen them.
I'm excited about it. All right, so let's see if your picture froze, but I think you can still hear us, right?
Yeah, I can still hear
Okay,
you, but
as long as we can still hear you. So talk a
Cool.
little bit while you're in. I'll monitor it, but while you're frozen, I'm gonna change while your picture's frozen. Ooh, that was me. So you can see the photographs on the wall. This is the photographer of these photographs. So introduce yourself, what we're doing with the photographs, and then share if you want to share something.
all right. Yeah, I mean the photographs. I mean, I'm preparing to set up the exhibition. I mean, it's all the photographs are from Southern California, a lot from LA County, and it was really, I moved out here about 3 years ago. I spent some time in the Inland Empire, but before that, I was in the Midwest, and it's really like before coming out to Southern California, I always associated it with Hollywood and with Santa Monica and Malibu, and it wasn't until I actually came out and I met a lot of the people that I realized like there is so many ways to exist in this place, and there's so many different subcultures. There's so many different kinds of people, languages, fashion. It's really like truly one of the most diverse places I have ever lived. And so the photographs, I mean, I do street photography, and it was really my best attempt at capturing the diversity of Southern California and the kinds of lives that people live here. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it.
Awesome. So if you have any work, if you want to share some work, share some work.
Sure. All right. Let me hopefully. Man, my signal is terrible. All right. If you can still hear me though, I'll go and read some new stuff. So, let's see. Okay. So I wrote 2 poems this morning. And as you know, Matt, like my month has been super busy. So that, like, I feel like I got in the zone this morning for like an hour, and I knocked both of these out, and they're very, very fresh. So, but it's free, so I will read them anyway. This first one is called "The Last Time I Spoke to Ducks." Morning as a nephra, morning as sputtering coffee machine, as slow crank on the car, oil change light, high idle, And as I drive, the blue of the radio reminds me of Traverse Bay in the climax of fall. And as I work, the bounds of my cubicle dissolve into fishing shed, my mouse into ice auger, and through the hole, Excel hands me back the catch of the day. Freeze, float, freeze, float, back into the mittened hands of my mother as she pulled me away from that pond the last time I spoke with ducks. All right, that's it. And I'll go ahead and read one more. I wrote this one last week on the train up from down from St. Luis Obispo. And I was just thinking about watching some horror movies, and the concept of like some of these seances was on my mind, and the way they're usually held, and how they always feel like they're just kind of stuffy and boring. So this one's called Common Seance Questions. I've never been much into seances, and the first time I got pressured into one, I looked over the shoulder of a friend Googling common seance questions. Is there anyone here? May we speak with you? What is your name? How long have you been here? And as I was reminded of an old landlord pressing a sophomore me, the formality, masking transaction, and I imagined having to move a cup around to answer. I have a long name. While people stood in a circle watching me type, I would hope that dying would at least have freed me from these kind of engagements. Maybe we should ask about their favorite book or the last song that made them dance, someone suggests. The group shakes their head. You have to build rapport, someone says, closing the conversation. Is the flesh not rapport enough? I think, while walking out, there is always a bad party going on somewhere. Thank you. All right, that's all I had tonight, Matt.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, the comment on horror movies, I like horror movies. It's like my favorite movie, my favorite genre of movies. But what always gets me is when people start flying around. Because I'm like, the whole point, it's supposed to be scary. And like, I'm not going to, if you were possessed and you were here, you're not going to start flying around. You're going to start telling me to follow my dreams. I don't know, right? Something. But it's got to be real. And so the movies where they don't do all that extra stuff, those are the ones that stick with you. Because then you're sitting down, you're in bed, you're looking at the corner, you're like, I know there's nothing there, but what if there is? And then you stay up for another 4 hours. It's like, oh, geez, thanks, appreciate it, brain.
Yeah,
I have an artsy question for you. I don't know if I've asked you this before, maybe, but what is the difference? Not the difference between photography and writing, but for you, when you're creating, when you're taking the pictures, when you're planning it, all the composition versus when you're planning the composition for writing, think about what is the difference, and then a little bit. I'll share a little bit about myself while you're thinking about it. But so I was in architecture for a long time. It's very creative. There's all, you have to be precise with the lines. I was a manual draftsman. I couldn't do it on the computer. But when I stopped doing architecture and I went into writing, I told myself, maybe it was true, maybe it was a lie, to convince myself I was doing the right thing. But I would tell myself that even with my poetry and my writing and my speaking, I had to be as precise as I was when I was drafting. Every word, every line, every sound had to have a purpose. Every wall, every corridor, everything had to have a purpose. And so if you have any thoughts on that with photography and with writing, I'd be curious to hear about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think since photography is digital and everybody's got cameras on their phones now, I think one of the things that has always like pressing on me is like, when should I take a photograph, right? And it's kind of the same thing with poetry. Is like, when you could write a poem about anything, right? Like you could write a poem about finding your car keys. You could write a poem about like, watching the sunset, about, what you typed at work today, about your plants, whatever. And I always like, for me, it's like with a photograph, I'll usually take it if it's something, if I was running late to work, would I stop and watch what's going on? Like, is it at least that interesting? And it doesn't have to be kind of objectively interesting. It's just something you don't, some kind of really prescient thing you don't see every day, or it just, something that really cuts to the core of some kind of human experience. So I feel like when I'm taking a photograph or I'm writing a poem, it's usually anything that stops me. And it doesn't have to be for a like really beautiful, large scene or some kind of like, some kind of big event. It could be something as simple as like, the way the doorknob feels, right? Or like, hey, I just watched somebody like, have a little gesture towards their sibling or something. Something that like, my favorite things are the small things that make you stop. And I think that's where I start with both poetry and photography. Is the smaller it is and the more meaningful it feels, what is it that made me stop, and how do I put that into a photograph or into a poem?
That's awesome. And especially reminds me of how fast things move. And so for something to make you stop is a big deal. And I always talk about my students when they, we're reading a novel or whatever we're reading and they can't find something to say. I'm like, just think about if something makes you go like, you turn your head and go like, then sit with it a little bit, because it made you make that noise for a reason. There's something there that made you stop, especially in this world. And I've been to New York once, and I don't walk very fast, and everybody's walking all fast, and this is like the stereotype. But also, it's like, why are you walking so fast? Just relax. You're gonna get there. It's like, wake up a little earlier. I don't know. But don't let any New Yorkers hear me say that. I'll get yelled at. Actually, you know what? Nah, I don't want to say it. Just kidding. Like, come yell at me. Like, just kidding. Don't yell at me. But anyways, thank you. And everybody. So I'm going to put on the screen our previous flyer that we had that says February on it. But imagine it says a month that's upcoming. And it's here. That's Turkish Sushi right there. This is our California Dream color graded photography across SoCal streets. They're really cool. I have a favorite one. It's on the wall. You can't see. It's pretty awesome. We were talking about it while he was here. I forgot when. About like a scariness to the photo. But anyways, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be fantastic. We're gonna have events, like I said. It'll be opening events. You can buy the photography. You can take photos with the photographer, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But yeah, all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
All right. So before I introduce our next speaker, I'm going to read one more, kind of as a buffer. Is it a buffer? What do they call it in showbiz? When you like do stuff, I don't know, but that's what it's going to be. A filler. Yeah. Instead of a seat filler, it'll be a content filler. Just because, I don't know. So this one is called Heavy and Warm, 12 Years Later, and I wrote this back in August. I don't know if I read it since then. I think I've read it twice or so since then. I got to write some new stuff. I had an idea about a magician's hat, but I haven't written it yet. So maybe next month I'll have it written and I'll share it. Someone remind me a couple of days before the event, and I'll make sure that it's done. But it's pretty solid. It has, the word magician's hat. I don't know, it just came to me one day. But this is called Heavy and Warm, 12 Years Later, because 12 years before I wrote this, I wrote a poem called Heavy and Warm. It's not a part two. It's just a continuation or a conclusion of whatever was going on. Heavy and Warm, 12 years later. And we're going to go back to, whoops, that was me. the stage. Can we call it a stage? I'm going to call it a stage. I'm curious about who we are before we are. Asking questions that have no answers, no conclusions, waiting to be saved, to be found. Profundity is too common these days, but it can't be, shan't be. It feels like I wrote this a long time ago, but it was only a couple months ago. Not everyone is a hero to their stories. Some are just lost, waiting for something. Something real, something better. Something more than the bullshit 24/7 existence filled with existential dread. You fucking know it. So what then when no one listens with their goldfish brains and whiskey dicks and what the fuck else is out there? Pray that drunk driver kills you, because guess what? It might be you behind the wheel next time. Just one more, they say, but I'm a champ like Ali, fool, but you don't know the whole story. No one does, do they? And it's never ending. They hope it was dad, but mom beat your fucking ass. It's just a spider now, but back then, oh brother, it was a fucking megalodon-esque devil-worshipping whore of a motherfucker waiting to feast on your puny fucking frame. It don't exist now, does it? Hell no. You became the thing, that scary shit, the bullshit that lies to you, what you needed to survive. But this guy saw through all of it and asked a simple question. What do you want? What the fuck do you want? Can you answer? Are you still too afraid to let yourself feel for the first time all over again? Is it possible there's no gold and we're all fools? We're all consumed and corroded by the rust, and the wreckage isn't filled with our memories. It's built by our faults. But isn't that the point? Isn't that why we're here? To build, to plan and draft and grow and walk away, to realize we left the only good thing. But good things don't save lives. They remind us of what we lost, of the ones we left behind, who left us as we walked on, walking with broken legs and ingrown fucking nails, digging and tearing into flesh. Let it burn so you feel something. Let it rot so the smell fills up the room and you know it was you this whole time. This whole time you were mucking up the good shit, tainting the perfectly prim taints, waiting for Prince Charming to absolutely wreak havoc over everything pristine and pure. But fuck that guy and his fancy ass hat and shirt. It ain't about that, is it? Is it? The books are wrong. The philosophies deserve their suicides. What's real ain't in books. Is it? It's right here. I ain't going to your funeral. I don't like 'em. Ask Val, but you can't. I tried. Be mad all you want. And the one person who would get it ain't here no more. Heavy and warm, my limbs are numb as they fucking can be, and still no sleep. And if by chance it does come, it's filled with nightmares and meditations cause more, and the monsters are laughing at me. But you know what they say about those who laugh, right? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get mine. Every time I cross my legs, I see him. Every time I play a tune, I see him wings. I see him cooking and drinking a $7 beer shot special. Oh fuck yeah, fool, get your hand off it. That shit's mine. But I see you. You know I see you. My liver don't hurt yet, but it's a fast track back to you, and the pianist can play whatever fucking song he wants out here. What I hear, note by note, my heart slows steady. I see you, voices heavy and warm, thoughts hoping it just ain't words. But knowing without them, there's nothing left. And so that poem is heavy and warm, 12 years later. Now, I'm pretty sure it was 12 years later. It could have been 13 years. I'm 95% sure. My percentages aren't so accurate. I don't know if you noticed that about me. I just kind of make them up as I go along. So we're going to introduce our next speaker, and then what we're going to do, we haven't done a Q&A in a long time, because I don't like them, because then you're kind of like, hey, let's ask a question. Anybody got a question? And it's just kind of, there's this weird lull. So instead we're going to have a conversation, and we're just going to talk. And we could either have everybody stand up there or one at a time. I have another microphone that we can use if we need to use. We don't have to. But either way, this next person is fantastic, was joining us the last couple months on Zoom. And then today I got an email, and it was like, where's the Zoom link? And I was like, oh, shit, I didn't send it. I thought I was like, oh, geez. So then I sent it super fast. And so they're here. I'm glad they're here. It's always a pleasure to have them. Please, everybody, welcome Tamika. Tamika.
Hello.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
Perfect.
I was actually writing something as I was like, right now. But anyway, Do I have to say anything or do I just start reading?
It's up to you. You are the conductor. I don't know, the director. You do whatever you want.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna do two, and the first one I actually um, so I went to a poetry event and they did like a prompt, and the prompt was like you had to say I admit in front of everything, and so that's what I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read that one first because I didn't get a chance to finish it because she had us do so many prompts. So I was finishing it just like right now. So it starts by saying, I admit the silence sometimes says more than it should. I admit I carry past pain of things I never spoke, of which felt misunderstood. I admit I lie in my head more than I say it out loud. I admit that sometimes I cause myself my own dark cloud. I admit that I hold on to things that I know I should let go. I admit I'm afraid of change, getting better and starting to grow. I admit I crave things I pretend I really don't want or need. I admit the warning signs show me not to talk to him, but I still proceed. I admit I've accepted less just to not be alone. I admit most of the time my loneliness is because I won't pick up the phone. I admit I hold on to people who drop me faster than a race car and let me go. I admit that pretending it doesn't hurt is harder to shove down. It's about to blow. I admit I numb myself, refusing to see what I don't want to face. I admit that I ignore pain by not acknowledging that I feel like a disgrace. I admit that sometimes after being with family, I'm left with a bitter taste. I admit the time I spent on negative thoughts and energy are hours that I waste. I admit I don't always recognize who I am or who I've become. I admit that life sometimes feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds a ton. I admit my smile has hidden storms that hide behind storm clouds that no one knows. I admit I've stayed too long where I felt unseen because trauma left me feeling stuck, froze. I admit I've mistaken comfort for something like love. I admit fear of becoming everything I tried to outrun and climbing above. I admit I'm still learning how to forgive myself and forgive me. I admit that I can't do things alone, that I need help to actually see. I admit that I question, will I will life ever feel free? I admit I'm scared of it all, and that's all I'll ever be. That was the first one. And let's see. I am so nervous. Let's see. I'm trying to find a shorter one because for whatever reason, recently, I don't know what has gotten into me, but I have been writing like really, really long poems.
Read
I'm
the
not
long
sure if
ones.
I,
Read all of them.
I'm not sure if I read this one before because I don't know how long ago it was that I wrote it, but like I think I was explaining that I am writing a book right now, and in the book, I am writing a chapter of it's all about grief. And so this poem right here is a very vulnerable poem for me because it lets people see what I've been sort of hiding and grieving alone. But it's called A Child I Will Never Hold. So it says the anticipation and joy of finally seeing those two lines appear. Hope blooms early at the thought of pregnancy, fragile, yet I quietly cheer. Doubt starts to settle in my chest, wondering why my body won't allow me to thrive. Waiting anxiously for the line to show, only for it to never arrive. Left with the empty promises society made about any woman with a womb. But the test stays the same. No second line shows up. Surprisingly, just awkward silence in the room. Imagining feeling the first flutter and tiny heartbeat, a feeling I desperately crave. But silence answers as I cradle the emptiness while trying to seem brave. The room filled with what ifs, a nursery room that I'll never own. Feeling alone, I hide the sadness, never letting it be shown. Pretending to be unbothered by this reality that I'm quietly battling. Longing to be holding a baby, feeling the soft pressure of tiny palms never happening. Embarrassment from not feeling woman enough for a life that'll never be carried. Knowing kids are important in a relationship, so I avoid getting married. I avoid the topic of children with my family and my closest friend, defending my reason why, which makes me hide my feelings and continue to pretend. My body aches for the milestones of motherhood, like expecting the first trimester of pregnancy that glows. As friends celebrate growing bellies, baby showers, gender reveals, and tiny clothes, those same friends announce their births to the world and welcome a life I cannot claim. Each announcement pierces my soul, a pain deep in my core I cannot name. Yearning for that kind of joy I will never feel and a type of love I will never start. Carrying the absence of never bearing a child and its weight in my heart. I grieve the child whose face I will never see, the womb that I cannot sustain. And I carry the absence with me, a sadness that will always remain. Depression for a child never held, for a life my body could not begin. Never seeing two lines wasn't the problem, it was the body that I was born in. A mother's love I will never get to show, a feeling of failure always there, which is impossible to measure. Many prayers rejected, and this grief I carry with me forever. Forever mourning the chance I missed to experience motherhood, childbirth, and pregnancy. A hard reality to grasp, but accepting the truth that I won't have a child to carry my legacy. Forever mourning the child I will never get to hold. The lullabies I will never sing, the bedtime stories never told, the warmth I'll never know, and the soft words of safety that'll never be whispered from my lips. A pain that leads to sadness that has a hold on me tightly in its grips. I mourn the empty space where a child of my own should have been. Trying to understand why I can't conceive took me years to comprehend. A belly where life could never take root, an existence that won't ever grow. A life I could never produce, a type of love I will never get to know. A truth that's too hard to handle, that becoming a parent was never a part of my destiny. The emptiness of what will never be, I will always carry with me. Alongside is the hurt of my body's betrayal, constantly playing in my ear. Haunted by never getting the fulfillment from childbirth and the first cry that I will never hear. I will carry anger at my body for not making my dream come true and somehow still feeling like I'm the one to blame. Because the truth is, my entire life, I waited to see those two lines. A hope I carried for years, but those two lines never came. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on. A couple things that I wrote down, in case anyone's curious, I do have a notebook over here, is admission and vulnerability and how they how art plays a role in that we can with the pen, with a camera, with a paintbrush, with whatever it is, we can admit the things that are too hard to admit. We can be vulnerable about things that are too difficult to be vulnerable about. And it's a way, like Christy and I were speaking of, about processing, or even just initiating the processing process. Right? You don't pick up a pencil, I think, at least as today has gone by, to heal with the goal of healing, but more so with just, I'm going to start the process. The first time I admitted that I was too scared to go somewhere was like a huge, heavy moment. But once I did, I was like, oh, that's what it is. I gotta say it. And then we have the space to be vulnerable about those things and put it into artwork and to write and to get it out there and experiment. And who cares if it's good? Who cares if anybody likes it, because it's ours? And that's the whole point about what our voices carrying strength means, is that each of us has a strong voice, has a voice. And it's not just the voice we speak with, it's the thing in our chest. It's that heavy thing that you can't kill, but that always feels like it's dying at the same time. And it has life, it has movement, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you, Tamika. I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you are battling the nerves, because it means it matters. It means it's important. Thank you. Thank you always. All right, so we're going to chat about art and community. Who wants to go first? I have some questions always. I haven't done a Q&A in a while. But again, we're not calling it a Q&A. But if anybody that's watching on YouTube, if you have any questions for any of the speakers about their process, their history, about all the nitty-gritty things, make them uncomfortable, ask them all the personal questions you want, and I'll say it. We'll put them on the spot, because now there's a spotlight, and they'll feel like they have to answer, even if they don't want to. No. But a question I have for anybody, those on Zoom, those here in person, audience members who haven't spoken yet, really anybody. I can't even see who's over there. And if you haven't been to the Community Arts Workspace yet, there's my area where I am, and then there's this cool modular wall, and then there's the performance area. And so I don't know who's here, but I'm just saying, I'm sure there are people that want to speak that haven't. No. They're all laughing in thunderous applause right now. Yeah. But anyway, my first question for anybody, or more of just a conversation starter, is I ask this every once in a while because it's different. When I'm writing something, like I said before, if I'm writing something just for myself and it stays in my notebook, it stays with my pen and me and nobody else, then that's it. And there's a different process that I have versus when you're writing and you know in your mind, you know in your heart, I'm going to read this, I'm going to perform this in front of people at some point. So does anybody have any, not foresight, not advice, just any input on, do you have any, is there a kind of a shift between how you're writing for yourself that no one ever sees, or maybe if it's in a book that's not read out loud, versus when you're writing something that you're going to stand up in front of the microphone and share to the world? And anybody can just pop in and chat. There's going to be no rules. All the microphones are on. Just also FYI, all the microphones are on. But only if you're in front of it, it catches you. This, I don't know what Brian, there's like a type of microphone that does that. So only if you're here. So if you're like this, can't hear anything. But when you're in front of it, it'll hear you. I'll share a little bit about mine while people are thinking about theirs. So I know that back in the day when I was young, before my one crow's foot. Nobody? No, that was a pretty good one, right? No, it's like right here. I could start. It's like a little baby crow's foot. When I write, and I know it's just for me, I say whatever I want. And just anything. I don't care what it is. It's as obscene, as obnoxious, as awful as it can be. And then when I write for what I'm going to perform in front of people, it's exactly the same. It's obscene, it's obnoxious, it's whatever it can be, with the caveat that I may or may not read it depending on the audience, or I'll have the acknowledgement that if I do read it as it's written, which I normally do, some people might get mad. And I've come to terms with that over the years. And we had a conversation about this earlier, but it's basically, if you're going to get mad at me, go ahead. Because I wrote this not for you, I wrote this for me, and it's mine. And you could like it or you can hate it. That means nothing. You were not the purpose of this piece. Now, if I do write something I've written before, I used to work I used to work with the middle school, and one of the teachers had me write something for the students, for the parents. It was like a parent night or whatever. It was kind of cool. And so I wrote that very specifically for an audience because I knew the audience. And I think that's, at least in my approach, if I'm writing something for an audience, if I'm giving a speech, for example, at the end of every semester I give a speech to my students, but only those students who make it to the end of the semester. If you leave in the middle of the semester, you don't get the cool speech because you didn't stick around. And I say that very, very specifically toward them, toward that audience, those particular students, and so on. If I'm giving a lecture, it's the same thing. But as far as art goes, if I'm writing something for myself, from my heart, from my brain, from my bones, then you're going to get it exactly as it exists on the paper. I just decide, do I read it or not? And I acknowledge that whatever consequence, if there are any, then I just live with them. But does anybody else have any other ideas? Agree, disagree? We could become best friends or enemies. I'm cool with either one. Makes life exciting. Or any other questions you have? I got 1,000 questions in my brain.
What was the original question?
What was that, Tamika?
I said, I'm sorry, what was the original question?
Oh, the original question was, when you're writing to yourself, like in a notebook or however you do it, versus you're going to write this piece to read it out loud, to perform it in front of people. Is there a difference in your process?
I can answer that because it's easy. I never write to share to other people. I only write for myself. It just so happens that now I'm at a place where I share it with other people.
I like that answer. So if I can, and of course, no one ever has to answer questions I ask, but how did you get to the place where you felt comfortable? Maybe not, maybe a little, I know you're nervous, but, and I remember, I still I tell people I get moths in my stomach. They're not butterflies anymore. They're just these nasty moths, and they're, horror movie moths. But how do you get to the place where you say, I'm uncomfortable, I'm nervous, but you know what? I'm going to share it anyway.
Is this a question for me or just for everyone?
Anybody. But if you want to answer, go ahead.
I think for me, I don't know. I honestly believe that it's like a part of the resilience that I have. I feel like I've been kind of sort of pushing all my life. So this is something that I've wanted to do. So I have to push past the fear. I have to do it because this is what I wanted to do. This is something that I saw myself doing. And so in order to get to that, I have to push past what the thoughts say or what fear tries to hold me back. I have to push past that.
I like that answer. And I think I agree, because the way I looked at it is, when something is important, it becomes more important than the fear, than the hesitation, than the reservedness. And there's resilience, and I've been on this word enduring lately, where our ancestors endured heinous acts of violence so we could be here. We endure. It's an active thing, as opposed to someone else is doing. It's like, no, we are choosing to have that endurance, to have that strength. And so I agree. And thank you for sharing that we push past it, we fight it. And in my view, I don't think the fear goes away. I'm still terrified of a lot of things, but it's not what's driving the MAT train anymore. I'm the, what do they call the conductor? Are they called conductors of trains?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I need to brush up on my train terminology. I remember conductor, caboose, engine. Yeah. See, I got 3. Does anybody here? You know what? I thought of something. If I do this, and I turn the stage light on, that's going to inspire someone to go stand up by the microphone. And even though I worded it as it'll inspire somebody, what I'm really saying is, no, I'm just kidding. Does anybody that spoke have anything to say?
I have something to say.
Oh, cool. Because I have a bunch of other questions too. So after this one,
Well,
you can stick around for more.
I was thinking about a question you asked. So I never was a writer. I was a good student, but I wasn't a writer. And when I became a teacher, I got used to like modeling writing, but it was always for a purpose, right? Like for an essay or a paragraph, or, you know, it was all evidence-based writing because that's what teachers are supposed to teach. And there wasn't any kind of creative curriculum, right? And I like to follow directions. So I had a teacher that joined me on staff, and she brought the Get Lit poetry curriculum. And it's if you don't know, I don't even know the exact origins of the program. Maybe you do, but I discovered it at the Festival of Books, and it was students from LAUSD that were in a program that was written to help students access their creativity and access their expression and to write in a way that at least resonated with me, because I didn't think of it as poetry. Like, to me, they were talking and they were sharing and they were expressing their history or their past or their feelings, which I always thought poetry was like something that was old and in a book, and, you know, that school version of poetry. Like, other people wrote poetry, like people that I know didn't write poetry. And so she brought the curriculum, and we were going to have like a school competition, and we were going to make all the kids, make them write a poem. But in order to make kids do things, teachers have to be willing to do them themselves. At least I think good teachers do. So I wrote the first poem I ever wrote was with the intention of performing it, of sharing it with all my students, of sharing it up, you know, on the stage in the cafeteria. And so I had never written anything for myself. I don't keep diaries. I don't journal. Like, I just read a lot, and I like reading what other people write. But so now the poems that I have written, and I don't write a lot, but it's like, for me, writing poetry is to share it. Like, that's the purpose of poetry. I don't have any writing that's just for me. So I don't know if I never have to get over this fear of sharing it. Like, I feel nervous sharing it, but I don't feel like, and maybe that's where my writing can grow, right? Like, I could write something even more personal, but I feel like the Get Lit format was to just write what you feel and write what you think. And then, yeah, try to make it artsy, but that the expressing what you think and feel was the art itself, like was the poetry itself. And it was very freeing to know, like, oh, old dead people don't just write poetry, like living people write poetry, like people, you know. And then I started surrounding myself with people who write, and I was like, wow, everyone can do this and everyone should do this, and it feels so good. And I think surrounding myself with other people who write made it seem so necessary and like vital to existing, because so much of ourselves, I think, remain hidden. And I'm like a big talker. Like, I love to overshare and talk to strangers. And to me, poetry is just like another way of doing that, but not constrained by like stanzas or how long the poem is, or does it rhyme, or is there, I don't know, all those like poetry techniques or whatever that you learn about. Like, who even knows what inner rhyme is, or whatever it's called, or end rhyme, the differences. I tried to teach it to people, but what really matters about poetry is expressing how you feel and what you think and what's important to you. And so I've never written anything just for me, I guess, is a bottom line to my question. So I've never had to wonder about being worried of how anyone will perceive it, because the whole act of poetry as I developed into writing it was meant to be shared with others who were going to be supportive, who were going to, snap. I never knew about snapping. And so I just think, wow, how sad that I missed out on that, like my whole educational time. And so luckily as a teacher, somebody else showed it to me so that I could bring it to kids, because kids would just blow me away by the things that they would write. And now adults, because I only hear what adults write, but going to open mics, I never go, oh, I'm going to an open mic to share. But then I get here and I'm like, I want to share because they shared and this is cool. And it's more of an experience than like a solitary versus communal thing.
And that's what I like about it, is that you may show up like, I don't want to do nothing, and then, oh, I got something to say, and get up there and say it. That's the whole point of an open mic. It's open. I've only had to, I think, disinvite one person ever. But you bring up a really solid point, in that my background with reading and writing was awful, terrible. I couldn't read. I was crying all the time. Didn't write nothing. I would take a 0 on assignments instead of doing this, or speaking in class. I share this with my students early on all the time. Is I took a 0 in high school because we had to write a couplet, and a couplet, for those who don't know, is just a two-line rhyming thing. What a stanza. You have a couplet, and then there's a tercet, and then what is the quatrain, everything else. But so I had to go up and read the couplet in class for credit, and I took the 0 because I couldn't do it. I'm like, nah, not gonna happen. Just no. And the guy's like, you're gonna get a 0. I'm like, give me a. I didn't even say give me a. I just sat there in silence, staring at my desk, and then he just gave up on me, gave me a 0. And I'm like, cool. And the couplet I still remember. I think I drew a little picture with it. It was me on a boat, and the couplet was, "Burr, I'm in a boat. Burr, I need a coat." And I couldn't stand up in front of 20 people, 30 people of my friends in high school and read that. And so my journey into writing, into performing, into speaking is kind of marred by those experiences. There's many of them. And so when it was time for me to get into these programs, I didn't know who the authors were. I hadn't read the books. I didn't know what all the terminology was, but I did know I had something to say. And I think that is a core point, hopefully, maybe, Christy, is that you have something to say. You have something to write about, something that matters to you. And poems are not just what you read about in the textbooks. It's not just Shakespeare, although I took every Shakespeare class I could because I kind of liked it. Although I think Johnson is better, Marlowe is better. There's a lot of better authors. Emily Dickinson and slant rhyme or near rhyme or whatever, not perfect, or whatever you want to call it. That I don't think an author sits there and says, I want to rhyme the word ask, but I don't want to rhyme it exactly the same, and I'm going to pick up a dictionary. I don't think it's mathematical. I think you're just there and you do it. And then later on, you could find, oh, I really like these O sounds. I'm really into this ominous tone. And then you kind of perfect your own style. But my view, anyways, it just comes naturally until you start to manufacture and engineer the sounds that you want. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you shared. I'm glad everybody shares. And I'm really happy that we're able to have these discussions, because the reason why I don't like Q&As, if I was just like, what is your process? You're like, okay, let me think of the best answer for answer the question of my process, blah, 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 blah. Instead of, let's just talk and let's chat. And so, Turkasushi, Juan, anybody, Tamika already shared. You could always share more. Does anybody else have something to talk about before I bring up the next question? Or if you want more, if you have more poems to share before we close out the open mic online, because in person, I'll let everybody know, in person, we paint more. We have cookies and snacks and hot chocolate, and there's an oven, just saying, afterwards. So I'm opening up the floor to anybody.
Yeah, Matt, I actually, what you, your little, your poem about the boat and the coat actually reminded me of something, and it's probably the best piece of advice I ever got about reading your poetry out loud. And so the first time I actually read out loud, it was about 9 years ago. It was at this tiny bookstore in Michigan. There were probably like 6 people in the room, and it was a poem about getting my car stolen and all of the things I wished would happen. Like, it was an old shitty car. I didn't care about it, barely ran, but like, It was just a poem about like all of the shit that was wrong with the car and how the person who stole it would have to deal with it now. And it was just one of those pieces that, like, I got this advice right before I read that, which was to write a poem about something like the stupidest thing you can think about in your life. Like, just something that happened that was just so absurd, it's completely ridiculous. And that way, like, you can go up and read it, and it's like, the stakes are low, right? You're not trying to talk about like big breakup or like death in the family, and like I think occasionally like getting into the habit of writing poems that are you find funny, that are ridiculous, that don't have all of these layers to them, and they're just about having fun. Like those poems are much easier to read, especially if it's your first time. Like go write about like the time you wore a bad outfit, or like you spilled something at a important dinner or something, like just something that's trivial, but you can have fun reading.
Totally. One of my favorite poems I've ever written was about trees, and it was born from I stared out. I was driving. No, I wasn't driving. I was a passenger because it sounds bad if I was driving, but I was staring out the window, looking at all the trees, and I realized all the trees that looked the same stopped at the same spot, and I was like, "How do they do that? Like, how does a tree know when to stop?" And then it turned into this poem. How does a tree know when to stop growing? Which then became this philosophical inward kind of journey of, if a tree knows when to stop, how come we can't stop? Why are we always trying to one up ourselves or other blah blah blah, whatever it turned into? But it was inspired by just this simple question of what the heck is up with these trees, or how come clouds are flat on the bottom, whatever it is. And so like you said, it could be these trivial things in our lives. Just write about it, because especially like you said earlier, if you have that thought in your brain, not that every thought in every brain is important, but they are. I'm going to say they are just for the sake of doing it. But every thought that makes you stop and ask a question, I think, is important. And we can certainly write about it, paint about it, and create about it. So, thank you, appreciate that.
I kind of wanted to, you said like a playful one. Uh, I wanted to read, um, it's kind of playful, I guess, a poem.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's called A Letter to My Coffee Cup. It says, Dear Coffee Cup, faithful keeper of my mornings, I owe you a million thank yous. Thank you for waiting patiently on the counter while my strong aroma of coffee brews. A quiet friend who always knows how to treat me and exactly what I need. The bitterness inside is a roasted bean, a dark roasting waiting to be emptied. Although what's inside rejuvenates me, I'd be nothing without you. A hug in a mug grounds me as the two sugars in hand sweeten and the richness grew. You cradle the warmth that wakes me, my tired, sleepy bones. You sit looking clean and serene while I stretch my mouth, moans and groans, holding me in the comfort of your porcelain. The feeling is like life is soulless, and you're my only true love who forgives, always there through holding me, face facing my fears. Your hard, round body makes life feel easier to manage and process the pain. I sit by the window holding you while listening to the rain. It's as if you understand how heavy some of my mornings can feel. Honestly, the experience with you makes things feel easier to deal. My hand finds you early before the sun and the birds tweet. My fingers wrapping around you bring a relief in your gentle heat. In a simple moment, you steady my racing heart and my breathing, blowing at you while waiting for the insides to cool off and stop steaming. I promise for greatness while waiting for the day to actually begin. Having you with me every day, consoling me, shows me that today I will win. You have secretly listened to every thought I said and unsaid, the hopeful ones, and even the worried ones that cause tears to be shed. The dreams whispered between sips while the world's loud outside, soothing me, the support you bring, and the peace you provide. So here is a small confession. It is not only the coffee I love, it is really you. My quiet morning companion who holds warmth for me every day and helps me to get through. So thank you for always listening and being a true friend. I could always count on you and the special talks you'd attend. Thank you for being there, warming my soul and comforting me. Sincerely, yours truly.
Thank you. Thank you, Timmy. I'm always happy that you're here. And and I'm hoping that you keep writing stuff and you join us, and then I'm hoping one day you host the open mic. I think that'd be really cool. We'll talk
I
about
don't
it
know
one of
about
these
that,
days.
but yeah.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to open it up to anyone here, anybody online, if you want to read again or say anything. If not, then I'll say our so longs, but let me know, and then we'll decide what we're doing. I'm going to take that silence and lack of movement and lack of stampeding as we're gonna close out today. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for coming from all over the world, tuning in online, joining us on Zoom and in person with our cool spotlight, which I'm really liking this. It's the second day we had the spotlight. I'm really happy, Tamika. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is no audio issue today, so I solved it. Oh my gosh, it only took 63 days for me to freaking solve it, but I solved it. So I'm happy about that. And we will see everybody on April 25th. I promise to post more about it. Visit us at our booth at the LA Times Festival of Books, booth 204. It's in the purple section across from the poetry stage. We will have a proof of the upcoming journal. I'm hoping to have a proof of the upcoming poetry collection also. I just need to make sure I sit down and get those finished. But Monday my schedule changes, but I should be able to do it because I said I'm going to do it. And so, anyways, stay in touch. I'm going to change the screen for everybody. That is number 2. We will see you next month, April 25th, April 18 and 19 at USC at the Festival of Books. And have a fantastic rest of your weekend. See you next time.